I would now like to introduce Dr. Manisha Nene, Associate Professor and Head of School of Computer Science and Engineering. Dr. Nene is a key contributor to AI governance, representing India in the UN's International Telecommunication Union and serving on the Responsible AI Committee, where she helps shape global standards and policy. We are honored to have her with us today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Manisha Nene.
A very good evening to all of you. My clock says that it is 6 o'clock, 16 minutes. And I wish to take absolutely less than 15 minutes to convey something very important which every enthusiast, technology enthusiast should be aware of. These are some efforts to contribute and bring in value for AI being used rigorously everywhere. I draw analogies of this to the fact that IT systems are used since last 20 years, 30 years. Our e-banking, e-commerce has got strengthened, and we see the success of using digitization today. And now we realize cyber threats. Now we realize cybersecurity. And now we are deputing the ministries of Home Affairs and all are deputing the officers to get trained, right from IPS officers and the cadre, to get trained in cybersecurity. That means this reflects we are there, but we are a little late to do that. The best thing is, yes, they are getting trained and your cyber concerns and incidences are going to get resolved. How about AI? We have immense models coming up. We rely on those models. Our day-to-day letter, description, essays, presentations, whatnot, are all deployed using AI. Whether you know the model that is being employed or not, but we are too good at using the tool. Since using a mobile phone is the best example, whether you are able to leverage the facilities of a mobile phone to the best is a question mark, but everyone has a very advanced and a niche device that is available in the market. Do we all agree to this? Yes? I want the response because this is the closure time and I want you all to be with me. Okay, so in view of that, with this context, I start my presentation where I want to mention the AI risks and how are we going to navigate through this. So, navigating the ethical minefield. The title itself conveys a lot. So here we present, before speaking anything, my gratitude to my supervisors, Professor L.M. Patnaik from IIC Bangalore, my PhD supervisor, and Dr. Devdhar, Scientist G from Armament and Research Development, DRDO. They have worked a lot on me to be sensible enough to stand on the platforms and convey some important messages and aspects related to the technology. A quick glimpse at various AI incidences. I have deliberately picked those incidences which are old. You will have immense incidences to represent, especially with Russia-Ukraine warfare. I do not say that we are fortunate, but we are living together and experiencing that happening in parallel. My first example represents using AI used for court and decision making, judiciaries in US. My second example demonstrates a common man using AI, social media, and the data there being used and utilized for some predictions. And my third example represents, since we are from DIAT, DRDO, this becomes a concern and always we have to have an eye on the developments that happens. So when we say that autonomous weapons and the developments are in place and you find many YouTube clips to get a glimpse about it, AI is going to play a vital role everywhere. So the three case studies are, one, in governance, second, for a common man who is connected to social media, and third, defense applications for the sake of reference. And I'm sure by now you have read the examples and the case studies. And you may recall that these were the ones reported in 2018, 2020, and currently still continuing since 2015 on YouTube, representing the concerns. So if I dwell on the third topic, that if rise of autonomous weapons is what is being seen, the countries are having the budgets reserved for developments of such technology. What are the dangers and debates? Let us not look into the AI models, how technically they work. For us as leaders or decision makers, when we have such systems in place, it's a challenge to understand that is there any potential for escalation? How am I going to handle this? Are there any inadvertent complaints, replies? How are you going to handle that? Second, accountability issue. Whom are you going to hold responsible? What are the methods in place? Third concern says that whatever it's being done, is it ethical? And we can very well debate on a statement which says that terrorists are ethical. They are ethical for somebody for whom they work for. And maybe they are not ethical otherwise for some. So the terms which we mention as adjectives are always very relative. In such context, when we say ethical concerns using these weapons do raise fundamental questions about controlling it. My second example says that all AI ML models finally are the algorithms nurtured with the data sets. So if we speak about algorithmic biases, especially when AI is going to mirror and magnify your emotions, your understandings, and the prejudices. When that is related with the way how we live, the way how AI is going to represent such exhibitions and actions, it calls for a concern that are we hiring practices where the tools which we deploy are helping you to show those biases? There are no tools right now. We only speak about it. Second, which we may mention here is that if it is going to have biases, what is the method of representing it? How criminal justice addresses it? Because it is a question for an individual's reputation, self-esteem, and the lifespan that they will spend. Third thing, if at all you say that algorithmic biases are important and are existing, what are the facial recognition systems that have biases against the people, as rightly demonstrated by Shruti ma'am, that there was a mask and still it said that it's a face, and such AI systems are prevalent. And in such situations, if they are being deployed for some actions. Next important concern, which represents that AI and privacy violations are going hand in hand. How will you debate on that? There's a need to have a look at it, and therefore, if you say so, I'm sure you are well read today to understand that Gemini is being said that it is violating the data security and privacy, and many AI models which are being deployed now are the ones who are utilizing data unethically for the sake of giving presentations, decisions, and predictions. The surveillance deployed and such systems which are growing day by day. There are countries who have restrictions of deploying cameras. And how are you going to handle identity threat, especially when you have AI models growing to this extent that deepfakes are prominent? These are concerns, and we are living with it as on today. We put a lot of energy to understand how we enhance models. However, the best thing is that the efforts are now in. That is what I want to inform you. That how are we going to handle this, and what are the efforts which right from UN, it is percolating to various countries and the experts, and how are we going to have that addressed and implemented and inducted in every activities that we have technically. So if we say deepfakes are nothing but the ones who are going to fabricate reality in the digital age, the reality of human behavior speaks about manipulations for a cause. It's not about good or bad. The need is that there is need to manipulate. Then the political interferences associated to that. And the third one which speaks about, if so is the case, what are the legal challenges? How are you going to bring justice to that? So in view of this, we had conducted some studies to convey that how is it moving. There's a notion, terminology very prominently used by AI experts which say that AI singularity moment is going to come soon. It only speaks about that machines are going to be super intelligent, exceed intelligence compared to human beings, one, such that there's going to be existential risk for the human beings, and third, such that we do not know what outcomes and issues we may face in future. That is what AI singularity speaks, and there's a beautiful book which you may refer to. I can mention that as we discuss. That leads to an umbrella of developing AI solutions, which is titled as AI being responsible. If you walk out of the room during a session, is it a responsible behavior? It can be debated. So what is responsible is a very relative term. And to mention that what is responsible AI, the developments are in place which intends to safeguard and help have regulations. Major focus are on the three steps. One is, how are we going to bring in transparency in the systems when AI is giving you the solutions and predict the outcomes? Not everyone has the rights to know how one has arrived to the solution. How are you going to configure such systems? Not everyone needs the explanation of why this decision has been taken, and if AI is going to sit on important devices and offices. Ability to have transparency at appropriate levels is great efforts where one is putting in, and the nations are looking forward for that. Accountability, any framework, any AI ML model built, how are you going to make it accountable? And therefore you realize that GDPR has led to DPDP Act and helping have preserve your data, and the rules and regulations which are prominently being seen as efforts of Indian government are also being well observed. However you implement or not is again a question mark, similar to the helmet rules which will safeguard your head. So you walk and you drive using helmet, but it's a question mark whether one uses or not. And so is true with helping such methods in place. That is where we need to go and see in future. And formulate ethical guidelines. So if these are the three steps which becomes essential, what are the actions till date? Reference to my earlier examples. As I mentioned, the highlighted yellow first column says that there are some AI databases. These databases record with every record column about the incidences which are being reported for AI. However, it is observed that it is not uniform. What are the efforts? Look at the first column, AIAAIC. It is a known database which is helping to record incidences and the controversies that has been arisen due to AI implementations. In September 2024, last recorded, we could observe that 1009 incidents and 411 issues were referred. The AIID, which speaks about AI incident databases, this is from US, this is from European countries. It refers to it being an open access. These many incidents is reported and these many reports being recorded on the systems till date. The third one speaks about AVID database, where the vulnerabilities of AI systems are reported. So this is similar to common vulnerability exposures which are being reported for cybersecurity. If there's a vulnerability in the software and you need to patch up, CVEs speak for it. Every software company, organization is responsible to give those CVEs and publish them for social benefit. That speaks about how we are going to have CVEs capabilities. And the third one, AIM, which is again an AI incident monitoring tool. Apart from these databases, the other efforts are the unstructured data which is being recorded around to give you the glimpse about where in the world is AI is a beautiful special interest group data scientist module prepared where the globe is seen and the severity of using AI is being displayed. You can very well check that. And you find out the severity of reports, incidences, ethical use, unethical use pertaining to that country. Apart from that, your social media environments and various government efforts all go in the direction of maintaining a log of the reports for the sake of having cognizance and taking some actions in future if things get streamlined. A lot of efforts are going in this direction. So what we did study, I'll tell you who we are. So we studied the various existing repositories. We observed, compared, and had some gap analysis. Based on that, we conveyed where are the lacunas, where there's a need to have addressal for reporting and enhancing those capabilities. I present an example demonstrating what are the various tuples, attributes with each of these databases. So my first database set addressed it being structured, the second one being unstructured, and there is immense difference between the databases that are addressing the AI issues globally, the ones who are responsible for getting these reports addressed. And we had demonstrated that how they are varying, where there is no uniformity in conveying the nature of incidents, the catastrophic or effect of it, the severity of its impact, and so on. If this is the case, this led to help us understand that if you are going to build AI, it should be responsible. It means it has to have the understanding well demonstrated at academic and research level to first explain what is being responsible, right from the behavior to its implementation on the machine. That will reflect its repercussions in the industries where AI applications are going to speak volumes. If industries find the systems to be reliable and responsible enough, the return on investments are probably seen better, which will only encourage the industrialists and the organizations to have more AI applications. That leads to the fact that the streamlining will help policymakers and regulators. And therefore, the way you see Indian Penal Code and some number, and then you represent what is that case, and you have those words reserved, and so on, has evolved eventually, and so is required for the AI incidences when once they are being reported. Which leads to the public having the confidence and having the accountability and making them behave with responsibility when such systems are in front of them for the sake of utilizing it. This is arrived with good, great discussions at special meetings conducted under the umbrella of International Telecommunication Union. It's a special UN agency which brings in standardizations in communications and digitizations for now. New subcommittees were formed in 2024 at that level, where one of the important subcommittee was responsible AI. And fortunate to convey that I was part of that subcommittee, was nominated by Government of India as a member of Indian delegate to represent the cases and take cognizance of their incidences and how we can fill in the gaps to bring accountability of using AI systems. This diagram represents quick essence of what responsibility should be. And believe me, this is a diagram which is being generated using AI tool. Now, this is not my brilliance, but my brilliance here is that I gave some tips. I want this to happen. Maybe my prompt was correct. It has generated it. It's up to me how should I use it. I'm deliberately putting it in front of you as an example. And there can be many more examples how to use and misuse that. So the consortium at UN is actively working on it. This is a news for you. Earlier, they have taken steps to take actions on streamlining the reporting processes of AI incidences. And soon, you will start finding methods in place to make everyone accountable when you're developing and deploying AI systems around you. This is a matter of pride for me, sharing one frame with Honorable Prime Minister during that time, and it has left huge impact through the conversations that work for nation to make self-reliant nation and have indigenous products which are responsible enough for every individual and for the nation. Thank you. I'm open for the questions. You search for singularity, AI singularity. There's only one author who has done that. But for anyone, rather. The best way is know that there is coexistence. Second best way is to be aware of what you're using. And third best way is know where is the accelerator and the brake when you're using a car. If I drive, I would want to know where is the brake first. And so is true for using technology too. Any questions?
For AI regulation, how would we retrospectively apply it to the model that exists before that?
Okay. The rule responsible itself is a Herculean task. Telling what is ethical and unethical also is a Herculean task. So believe me, MIT is immensely putting in great efforts. Efforts to give problem statements as expression of interest to various communities who are doing research under the title of Explainable AI Model Banao, Responsible AI Model Banao, Data Security Preserving Privacy Model Banao. There is a thought behind it that these meetings have reflected in minutes for the sake of actions to some top authorities down the line to make people realize first that you're developing it, but how are you going to evaluate it? And for that reason, when you say you're going to build the rules, it is not you and me, honestly. It falls from top to bottom. So it is the nation who decides what is ethical and not ethical for the nation in harmony with the global standards. Because you are a part of some consortium or group. So it flows like that. And otherwise, it is like you drive a car and then we say, oh, I didn't know red light thi, rukna tha. You cannot say it because now RTO rules are very well formulated. And so is going to happen for AI soon, where the efforts are seen. Having seen the efforts and being part of it, yes, I see much bright way of going ahead and no delays. That is what I observe.
Lethal autonomous weapon systems is one area where AI is being used. And right now, as per UN's Office of Disarmament, we do not even have a agreeable definition of what lethal autonomous weapon systems are. So in light of that, since they are essential for defense purposes, countries want to develop such systems. What do you think is a best possible way forward that countries could adopt in light of this issue as AI being used as a double-edged sword in the defense systems?
Very quick to answer this. I only say that I know the technology, I know how to use it, and therefore everything is fair in love and war, and I will use it. That is in the context of defense, if you're saying so.
Thank you that you brought up this extremely important topic. Are there any lawyers in the hall?
I am a compliance officer.
One compliance officer.
Constitutional.
Constitution. So I think there are very less people who can understand how deeply it is associated with the society. How many of us have actually used DigiYatra? How many of us have wrongly identified or denied entry at the gate because of something, and then they have to show the physical identity and then reroute themselves?
I had faced once.
How many of us are aware that there was one person who was wrongly convicted and put into jail in Dubai 2 years back because of wrong identity? There are two people. So we understand, and how many of us get their heartbeat high when we know that we are being monitored by a system who can hold us responsible for any illegal act, or they can give us a receipt or a ticket or a fine for our wrongdoing without having a legitimate or an upfront review petition arrangement to get through a human in the loop. Some of us, how many of us have got driving challans automatically sent to our home? And how many of us fought it back? How many of us have surrendered in front of AI already? These are the questions which are actually associated what ma'am has already discussed here. And these are the very, very shallow level implication of having an autonomous AI system. I myself, being a lawyer, being from a technology background, being an AI researcher, I deeply appreciate that you brought up this topic. If there are any research papers you are trying to put up, any practical experimentation you are trying to put up, I would be at my personal level, I would be very happy to be part of that. On the other side, I have one small question and a request that if you have implemented any framework, and you can tell us about how that framework can get into the research program for students and other practitioners, it will be really helpful.
So, first thing is, but I'm working very hard to understand the implications
The way
of it.
you put Security Act and other things, I really appreciate it.
The third thing is, out of the meeting outcomes which happened at international level, 128 countries were involved in formulations of this. You will not believe, morning 8 o'clock to evening 6:30, the words like may should be put, can should be put, should be put, shall should be put. What are the implications of that? Was debated with examples.
To mention that.
Believe me, the drafts did not come up. Then I learned that technology is important, algorithms running is important, but it can be run in isolation. I can develop a technology in isolation. For example, I have equipments and I'll develop and demonstrate results. But when it goes in environment where it's going to get deployed by common man, then the questions are required to be answered. And in view of that, frameworks and guidelines are being formulated. I'll be happy to share. Currently, I'm working very closely with TEC, Department of Telecommunication, and the officers there. We are looking at how use of 5G and 6G brings biases on the users and all. And yes, there are guidelines, and I'm sure it will help the startup companies and the ones who are deploying solutions, AI solutions, to get it commercialized for commercial benefits, where economics is part of it. And you will definitely need to go through all these norms as you progress and proceed.
And also if
Small example I'll share. Whenever I'm advisory member for incubation center for various DST and technology business incubation center as an advisor, and when I listen to various products that they float, the enthusiasts who propose various solutions, so they speak this way, as in, if I can mention it, they say, Madam, डेटा हम पेशेंट का लेंगे, वो पेशेंट का डेटा हम डॉक्टर को देंगे, डॉक्टर वो डेटा देखेंगे और फिर वो हमें मेडिकल उसके सॉल्यूशंस बताएंगे. So I said, who will give you permission to use the data? Then they said, क्यों नहीं देंगे? हम Google फॉर्म फ्लोट करेंगे. So I said, ठीक है, but who will take the responsibility of that? Have they given you the permission? So they are in dilemma. They are not aware of. By providing the solutions, they are not aware of are they doing the right thing or not. And the second important implication is this, which I also tell my postgraduate students recently, 3-4 months back now. There was a UK magazine news which floated that a lot of Indians are involved into hacking important data in UK, and that was reported. And to my surprise, when I went through the article, all the youngsters in the age group of 20s were mentioned that they are all the ones who have had some offenses done for collecting the data. Then there was one interview, associated to that, where one of the techie was speaking about it, saying that हमें इतनी अच्छी सैलरी देते हैं और हमें अगर हमारे मैनेजर ने बोला है कि सारे अकाउंट का डेटा हमें दो, तो हमने तो अपनी टेक्निक्स यूज कर करके फेच करके दे दिया डेटा, हमारी क्या गलती है उसमें? So they list it like that. Now the thing is, what one needs to retrospect is that, okay, are you aware that you are doing the right thing for the sake of earning money? One needs to know. Where is the cognizance of that? It is not sensitized at the level where they need to study that. So these are the impacts and repercussions of it.
And also it is important to impart legal education for the technologists, especially in AI domain, because there is one very important and very basic saying in the fraternity of law, that ignorantia juris non exigere. So if you don't know a law, you cannot be excused for that.
After the age of 18, if you say मुझे पता नहीं था, कोई नहीं सुनेगा, सुनना नहीं चाहिए किसी ने, rather. But that's the way. Thank you so much for your patience and passionate listening. Thank you, Amit sir, for the opportunity. Thank you, sir, for your patience and listening to the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Manisha Nene ma'am, for your insightful session on AI risk. Your expertise and contributions to AI governance have given us valuable perspectives. Now, I would like to request Shri Abhishek Tiwari, Scientist E, C-DAC Noida, to please felicitate Dr. Manisha Nene ma'am.
Sir, come on.